Many households and communities in South Africa experience emergencies that leave them homeless. This is due to settlement patterns that cause fires, which are difficult to put out because of overcrowding, harsh weather conditions such as floods and storms, and emerging social welfare concerns such as infectious diseases and unsafe or illegal building occupation. The Emergency Housing Program is government's response to dire housing situations due to different types of emergencies. It is flexible, responsive, and proactive. It addresses situations where other housing programs and social networks need additional and supplementary support. The program is best known for its use of the Contentious Temporary Relocation Areas, TRAs. There are some disasters that render people homeless, and it is in these situations that emergency housing may come into play. The program allows for on-site assistance. This is when the site is suitable for permanent development or can be made temporarily suitable. Relocation or settlement. This is when the site is temporarily or permanently uninhabitable. Formal housing reconstruction or rebuild is when formal housing can be repaired or rebuilt, or when resettlement to a serviced plot takes place. In terms of the Housing Code, emergency housing situations are defined as homelessness through extraordinary circumstances, households and communities living in the way of hazardous conditions, households and communities living in the way of services or proposed services. There are two main responses to emergency housing: reactive and proactive. A reactive response occurs after a disaster has happened. The municipality or province has to react because people's homes have been destroyed. However, the proactive response is something that is far more favorable because it seeks to stop the disaster happening in the first place. Emergency housing is funded by the national government through the Human Settlement Development Grant. Provinces then make provision for it in their budgets, and municipalities apply for it from province. Funds for emergency housing are in the form of grants for land, services, shelter and relocation and/or resettlement. The annual subsidy quantum provides guidelines on funding for each of the components. Key issues to keep in mind when planning and implementing an emergency housing project. Emergency housing can play an important role in responding to and assisting with informal settlement upgrading, where other programs cannot be utilized in the short term. Relocations are to be used as a last resort, as they tend to disrupt livelihoods, have ongoing maintenance costs, and become permanent. It is important that emergency housing be integrated with formal housing delivery programs and disaster management responses. Continuous community participation and engagement will help identify best responses and development of partnerships for delivery. A programmatic approach that will assist in developing more proactive responses to emergencies. Case studies show that in areas where larger emergency housing investments were made toward permanent solutions, the responses tended to be more sustainable. Hostile relationships were mitigated, and human dignity and human rights were not compromised. The HDA can help you with proactive responsive solutions. Forward planning can help you with a smoother process and more effective outcomes. According to the HDA's Act, the agency can assist provinces and municipalities with emergency housing solutions. To this end, the HDA can support municipalities with either a proactive programmatic response or after an emergency to acquire land. A programmatic approach includes putting in place many of the enabling relationships, funding sources, and communication channels in advance of emergencies. Components of programmatic approach: rapid assessments of informal settlements and areas of high vulnerability, proactive planning and land acquisitions, improved intra- and intergovernmental cooperation, funding arrangements for an emergency housing program, community partnership building, integrated long-term planning. The HDA has developed the emergency housing guidelines and case study publications that can be found on our website. The emergency housing program can also be used as part of informal settlement upgrading. The HDA can help with this as well.